I'm exploring themes of our relationship between the organic experience of engaging with materials and minerals and fibers that has existed since we began recording art and working with materials. And I'm also exploring the relationship between the synthetic and the idea of postmodern influences through material. And it's really about the tension and the relationship that we have between both of those dimensions existing at the same time for our generation. I would like to view myself possibly as an existentialist who doesn't necessarily see a barrier between all of these different modes of communication. So with that comes a deep reverence for each of the disciplines, and the more time I spend between each of those different fields, the more specific my understanding of those fields becomes. So it's less of an instance where I am trying to touch every surface or pillar. It's more an instance of understanding the intention and the specialization of each of those particular disciplines to tell particular stories which are appropriate to the medium. I've started learning through craftspeople and makers and machinists. The same with the furniture in terms of draftsmanship and like woodworking and understanding the parameters of what's capable with material and machining and with welding and crafting. That all came through inquiry and spending time with fabricators and with carpenters and with metalworkers over the course of maybe 7 or 8 years. There were a lot of failures before there was any breakthrough. It's the first time I've shown any type of drawing or sketching. We're taking about 1,500 drawings, sheets of paper, and diluting them down or distilling them down to 4. And the idea here is to show the rhythm of thinking between the process. What I often mediate is gestural work at first to determine a form which then I apply a concept to, which might be like a theory or like a philosophy. I then try to, from the abstract point, identify a form or shape in a looser matter, which is why I use either Indian ink or watercolor to do that, because there's still a level of like fluidity that you get with charcoal, but it forces you to determine a shape. To not complete the process immediately and to kind of challenge where form can go and to bring in serendipity, I move between pen, pencil, charcoal and watercolor to not have such a rigid way of developing an idea. Because that tension between fine art and furniture in this medium is so close, such a tipping point. It's a knife's edge of whether it's furniture, whether it's fine art. And the process of furniture requires a very stern hand with design and draftsmanship. And some of that thinking is shown here, where I'm using ballpoint pens and biros and fine liners to truly determine a form, and I'm starting to think about the depth of a concave and like core materials to come into play and how the material should work with like structural elements like pipe fixtures. It takes time, and it takes resilience, and it takes critique, and it takes failure and success. And that dynamic is important to open up the quality of the work and to broaden a space for your work to partake in the history of the arts and the history of design. You can't contribute without having risk and exposure. So the journey of life is really indicative of the work that we will produce that is of value. And you can't expedite that, and one shouldn't want to expedite it. We're not machines churning out products. These are artworks.